What's up and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host Dave Martinson. Dave, how about your guys Brockhampton, man?
Hell yeah, dog. Great new single, 1999 Wildfire? Wildlife? Wildfire?
Well,
Outcast, a Jace. Big fan.
Yeah, man. It's known. It is known that you are a big Brockhampton fan. I'm slowly working my way through their catalog right now, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, I wouldn't say I love them as a band yet, but I definitely like some of their songs. This song blew me away. Made me really excited to hear their upcoming project. Do they have an album release date?
So Puppy was the original name of the next album. It was supposed to come out in June. Mm-hmm. Then the Amir Van stuff happened. They pushed it back. Then they debuted a song, Tanya, on Jimmy Fallon, and announced the album is now called The Best Days of Our Lives, but we have no date. So I'd expect the summer sometime, maybe next month.
Yeah, this is their second single, right? They've released towards it?
Correct. Yeah. So first two songs of 2018.
Yeah, 1999 Wildfire, like you said, Outcast of Jace. I'm really excited to see what this album's going to sound like, so I got to catch up on that. If you want to hear the song and the other songs that we've really liked from this year, go to our playlist, Spotify, Nowstalgia, Best of 2018. Also, if you support the podcast, subscribe somewhere down below. Go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod and click on all the links there. Support us on all the different platforms we're on. We really appreciate all the feedback. Give us a rating, review on iTunes. We got a couple things to get to this week. We got some music, we got some TV, we got some movies. So we're gonna bring you a smattering of everything. Let's start with
all the quadrants.
All the quadrants. Start with our guy Meek Mill.
Our guy,
Millie Rock. Well, I'm gonna call him our guy because I feel like he's everybody's guy at this point. Like he's probably my feel good story of 2018, just because getting out of jail and seeing him like running around with that smile on and like going to all the Sixers games. Right. I like him more as, I guess, the personality he's been in 2018, or what he's become memed on the internet in 2018, more than him as an artist. But he dropped this short EP, only 4 tracks, Legends of the Summer. Is this a good EP worth listening to?
I'm the wrong guy to ask because I've been out on Meek for years. I was tweeting hashtag MFG Peaks like before the Drake beef. Like I was already annoyed with Meek being a inconsistent rapper and just kind of doing the same thing and being really loud. But I'm sympathetic to his plight, like most people. And it's not that I'm hating against the man. It's just I was listening to this and I immediately start picking out the things I don't like, you know. And like, it's only 4 tracks, right? So it was a Philadelphia with a fucking glorified Swiss Beats feature on there. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. You use the Icon Livin' Jaden Smith line. You're like 12 years old and then nice move. You named the AP after the tour you did with Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z did. That's fine. But the thing I didn't like the most is like calling himself like the king of Philly. It's like, yeah, you've been running Philly, but let's be real. Uzi does way bigger numbers than you now. He's the new king of Philly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Meek though, you gotta seize on this. Like you said, him as an artist isn't really significant at this point. He hasn't really dropped anything that's super worth noting, I guess, in the last couple of years.
Wins and Losses was his 3rd album, came out last year. That was the most recent release until this new EP. And I mean, I like one song stuff that was kind of a vintage Meek song, and a lot of people like the Tiana Taylor joint on there, but overall I wasn't a big fan of it. And it's not that he was doing all the same stuff. I think that kind of leads into this new EP. Is he's always kind of been a storyteller. The problem was he was always very repetitive with his storytelling in the past, and now it's just like, I don't know. I just don't really care for woke Meek. Like, you know, like stay woke. And even when he references his play, like, I don't know. I just don't look to you to tell me these things. You know, it's like, I don't know. I'm just coming off as a hater. I just can't get into it at all. I thought 1 a.m. was my favorite of the 4, though.
I think the one I liked the most was probably the first one, just because like I said, I like who Meek is as a meme more, and that's basically what the song is about. Is like he's kind of caught fire after this whole thing, but not really for doing anything other than being wrongfully imprisoned and getting out. So, yeah, I don't think this is really anything worth listening to if you care about music, just in terms of who Meek is at this point in time and the culture. It's important. Something that is a little bit more significant to me. And I mean, we've been talking about all these Kanye albums, Pusha T, Kanye, Kid Cudi, Tiana Taylor, Nas, had Drake drop right after that. And then Future, just, what was that? Was it on the 4th of July? Just like, I'm going to drop mixtape to hold you guys over until my my official album drops later on this year. Like,
he said that he held it back a week because he didn't want to interfere with Drake's streaming numbers. And I'm like, what you meant to say was you didn't want Drake to put you in the dirt with the streaming numbers. But whatever, noble.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way any rapper who has any respect for themselves is going to be like, oh yeah, I don't want to get bodied by Drake, so I'm going to wait. But man,
no shame in that.
Beast Mode 2, the follow-up to 2016's Beast Mode. I'm not a huge Future guy. You know, he doesn't, I mean, kind of like with most rappers, I think I'm pretty critical of them. It's just not my favorite genre. We talked about, I'm a much bigger rock head, but I really liked this mixtape for a couple reasons. The beats were pretty simple, but they were still really interesting on it. And I think that's the thing that stood out the most, was just like the use of like keys and things like that.
That's Zaytoven for you. You know, it definitely sounded like more crafted than you'd expect from a typical, I don't know, or Future mixtape. But give Zaytoven a lot of credit. He told the Fader that they went through past 2 years of music, over 100 songs from various sessions, and just made this mixtape from stuff they had. And it actually sounds, you know, pretty, I mean, some of the verses might stand out as being older than other ones, but I think it sounds pretty coherent, all things considered.
I would agree. I mean, I think you can hear some of like Dodo, for example, sounds kind of old, just like the way that who was it, Young Scooter on that one is like, his voice is kind of
DBT.
Yeah, I don't know. That one wasn't great, but overall, I thought this was really solid. Future also, I mean, if you go on Twitter at all, I think you see a lot of people riding for his, like, I don't know, what, like toxic, like fighting toxic masculinity or something like that. Just the way he like picks at like his own sorrows and melancholy is kind of interesting, and some people really vibe with it. Do you though? Because I know you're not a big melancholy guy.
Shout out my dear Melancholy by the Weekend though. So I saw the Future at the Meadows last fall, and he's got enough hits. I had a great time at that, and that was before he brought Nicki Minaj. So I was very impressed with his live show. But I'm not the biggest Future guy either. I think a part of that is he's a fuck ton of music. Yes. How many mixtapes do you think he has? This is his 7th commercial mixtape, but overall, including Drake and the Young Thug collabs, how many mixtapes does Future officially have?
Probably 20.
Take a guess. Yeah, this is 19th.
Damn.
In 8 years, 9 years. It's a lot of music.
Hundreds of other
plus
songs.
He has albums.
Crazy.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Beast Mode 2, I mean, I think, you know, he like you said, he's very melodic with the way he like warbles around like his feelings and, you know, his women issues. But I think he was a little more mature on this. It wasn't as objectifying. It was more about, I don't know, like being materialistic with his woman, I guess. I don't know. So I was kind of, I kind of thought it came across as what I'd hope a 34-year-old man, rich man's feelings would sound like. So I was kind of happy with that. But even like, it starts off really strong. I think Wi-Fi Lit and Cuddle My Wrist, I thought were awesome. And then Some More, I think the second to last track I really liked as well. And, you know, similar to his guest spot on Blue Tint on Scorpion, you know, I think it doesn't take much for Future to, you know, craft an earworm and just get inside. And, you know, on a 30-track mixtape from one producer, I think, you know, he can really craft something enjoyable. And I like this a lot more than I liked Hendrix, which was the second of his 2 albums he released last February in 2017. Because Hendrix, he was just really singing basically the whole time on that one, and he's not a good singer. I don't want Future to sing, but when he does this weird rap and shit, I think it works pretty good when it, you know, made the way Beast Mode 2 was made. So, you know, I mean, as a not a big Future fan, I was, you know, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lighter music week, we're not going to talk about Jaden Smith's, what was it, like follow-up to Sire? I don't even know if there's
Sire the Electric album on IGTV now.
Yeah. No, thank you. But yeah, it was a pleasant surprise to have something pretty good to listen to. I also liked when I think about it, I feel like that's his most introspective and like vulnerable piece on the whole thing, and it kind of speaks to I think why a lot of people like Future, you know, the sad boy, so to speak. So yeah, definitely give Beast Mode 2 a listen, and we'll have another Future album, I think, before the end of the year to be talking about. So, well, why does he like to do this? He drops like a mixtape and then drops his real album, right? Or
he makes a ton of music and he gets paid. So, whatever. Go for it, man.
Keep cashing them checks. Secure that bag.
Been doing it for years. It's not like this is a brand new thing. You know, he's been big forever. He's been putting out a fuck ton of music forever. Just ride it out.
Ride it out. Why don't we jump to some TV talk? You know, the Emmy nominations are coming up this Thursday. We'll be dropping this pod either Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you're listening to this before, this will either be predictions, or if you listen to it after, it'll be what we had hoped happened, and you can check our calls on this. So why don't we just run through the big categories too? Because I mean, I don't think anyone really cares too much about the writing and directing pieces unless there's something in particular you really want to shout out. Sound good?
Yeah. Well, again, once we hear the nominations, we'll check back in and we'll actually do predictions, you know, in early September when the show actually happens. We just kind of wanted to throw out things we were hoping to see when they announce the nominations in a few days.
Yeah, crazy. We're already getting nominations. It feels totally impossible that award season is around the corner somehow. All right. Why don't we start with supporting actor in a drama series? Who you got? Anyone that stands out to you? I think this is going to be a lot of Thrones, probably. Handmaid's Tale, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's not going to pick a man from Handmaids, but I don't know. The thing with supporting actor is I'm not actually really big on this category because I feel like Sterling K. Brown and Vilo Ventimiglia from This Is Us will get nominated. Sterling K. Brown won last year. I don't watch This Is Us. Are you still up on it? So yeah, I don't really follow this one as much because I feel like Sterling's going to win again.
I am kind of up on it. Yeah, I think I watched the majority of the past season, and if I didn't watch it all, I've been told about it by my girlfriend what's going on. So yeah, I think this is a lock probably for Sterling K. Brown, but it's kind of crazy that he's not going to be nominated for the lead supporting. You don't think he'll be nominated for the lead actor in a drama series?
Oh yeah, no, he would be a lead supporting. Yeah. So supporting, actually, the category, the guy I'm rooting for, I don't think is supporting actor. I think he's a co-lead, but Brian Tyree Henry from Atlanta.
How
and then again, they probably have him in comedy, so I don't know. But Atlanta and Barry, to me, I feel like are they're dramedies. Like they're probably in comedy categories because it's easy for them to win. But I would call them dramas. But whatever, Henry probably won't even be there. But I don't know. Who do you have for supporting actor in drama then? Because I feel like it's kind of weaker.
Well, it's interesting because this year we got Westworld and Game of Thrones going up against each other, right? So then it kind of becomes like, who's a supporting actor in Thrones? Who's a supporting actor in Westworld? I mean, Hopkins is probably going to be nominated for Westworld. Jeffrey Wright would be in the lead, I would imagine, because he's in most of the gets most of their time. I mean, it's hard.
It all depends on how they apply for the award. We're usually not privy to that until after the fact.
Yeah, I think if anything, I'd probably go for David Harbour. For Stranger Things, even though Stranger Things had a down season, I still think he was really solid. And it's almost kind of like giving him a little shout out for being a breakout from the first Stranger Things season in a way. I think he's been really solid. I mean, no one else really totally stands out to me in this. I mean, maybe Noah Emmerich from The Americans,
Sure. I think that's actually a good bet. Last season, they've been getting more nominations as the show has gone on, even though they haven't really won anything. It wouldn't happen, but I love to see Christian Slater for Mr. Robot.
Yeah. I wonder if Franco, I mean, I know that's going to be the obviously like a shortened or a mini series, but I wonder if he'll get a nomination for a leading role or a supporting role. Probably a leading
for The Deuce.
Yeah, for The Deuce.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like even like Donald Glover will be nominated for lead comedy actor, but he's not in every episode.
Right.
And like I said, he's not. If anything, I think Brian Tyree Henry's in more of the season. But just the way they build it, the way they apply for the award. So category fraud.
Yeah, and I almost feel like there's no Veep this year, which helps. in a lot of like the writing categories and even some of like the supporting actor in a comedy. But I feel like a lot of those you pretty much know who's going to be there. A lot of Barry, there's going to be a lot of Atlanta, pretty much for everything. And then I don't know, maybe Arrested Development, but I can't really imagine with
and that's another thing too with their Jeffrey Tambor stuff, and also kind of a muted reception to the 5th season. Will Jason Bateman maybe sneak in there? I don't think Will Arnett or Tony Hale have as much steam. Maybe Bateman, Jessica Walter on the female end. That's kind of a fringe show where you don't really know, because you'd think in theory Arrested Development coming back yet again, hopefully a better season, way more known now than it ever was before. This is their time to get some Emmy attention, but I don't think it's in the cards. But comedy supporting actor, I think, is fucking stacked. Like there's gonna be good actors not nominated, like Brian Tyree Henry, as we said. Henry Winkler from Barry should be there. Tony Shalhoub from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I'm pretty sure, is there. Maisel cleaned up at the Globes, should do really well at the Emmys. Mark Maron from Glow, good chance. Alec Baldwin from SNL probably will be there. Lakeith Stanfield, outside chance as well. One of the Silicon Valley guys. I'd really love to see Zach Woods get nominated.
Yeah, he's definitely the best part of that season. It's interesting because I feel like this is probably the year that Silicon Valley will get its most nominations, with Veep not really being there.
Right.
But at the same
HBO
time,
pushing for it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like the least deserving at this point for these nominations.
Heck, I'd love to see Anthony Carrigan from Barry. No Hank, outside chance, but that would be awesome, because he's really resonated with everyone who watched Barry, and that's like the kind of lesser known actor who's been around a little while, but that'd be a great look, versus giving it to Alec Baldwin again.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, but I mean, they love to give SNL some love. What other categories are you looking at in terms of places where you want people to get in, or you hope someone doesn't win or doesn't get a nomination?
Yeah, I mean, I think comedy actress is, again, a little boring. Like Rachel Brosnahan, it's probably the favorite. She'll be there. Tracy Ellis Ross from Blackish, Allison Janney from Mom, Allison Brie from Glow. That's all pretty safe, right? But that last spot, like, I'd love to see Issa Rae from Insecure get there, because again, this is without Julia Louis-Dreyfus automatically getting a spot. So someone else gets to actually win for someone else gets to actually win for once. Last year, Thrones wasn't in the mix. This year, it's Veep. So that's kind of what I like most when like shows are out of the loop, is just someone else getting a chance. When there's that category that just you already know who's going to win usually.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of looking at like a similar thing for outstanding lead actress in a series. Elizabeth Moss is there, but I would really love to see Kerry Russell get some shine. I mean, The Americans has been kind of getting like the Mad Men treatment, where they were going up against Breaking Bad every year, so they weren't really winning anything.
Right.
But it's so deserving of getting some recognition, and especially Kerry Russell. I mean, Matthew Rhys is great in that show, but Kerry Russell, I feel like, was really the heart and soul for the last like couple seasons. And she just got announced to be in a Star Wars movie coming up, which is
in talks for episode 9, which is exciting for sure. Good luck for her. But I mean, stack win, because Elizabeth Moss won last year. Claire Foy for The Crown, very popular, and Evan Rachel Wood is assumingly get the HBO push for Westworld. And then I think the critics' choice would be Sandra Oh from Killing Eve, a show we haven't watched yet, but gets total acclaim. And heck, Thrones is back, so Amelia Clarke, Lena Headey, one of them, if not both, are probably there.
Viola Davis for How to Get Away with Murder.
How to Get Away with Murder. Yep.
It's a crazy category. I mean, you can get 7 nominations for outstanding drama. What would you want to see in that category? I mean, I think we pretty much know Handmaid's Tale's gonna be in there, Game of Thrones gonna be in there, This Is Us, The Americans. But I think after that, it's kind of wide open.
Yeah, I think The Crown is a safe bet as well.
Yeah, that's true.
But then, I feel like Stranger Things will get nominated again, but I don't think it should. I'd much prefer like a Mindhunter in there. Americans, like you said.
The Deuce.
Mr. Robot. I think Mr. Robot season 3 is deserving.
Yeah.
Legion season 2 probably not as much given the competition. That's the thing about The Deuce. The Deuce is coming back for a second season, but was it considered a limited series? We don't know that yet, right? The Deuce. I would love to see The Deuce get nominated. I think that's very deserving. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal has stiff competition for drama actress or supporting actress, but she's very deserving as well. You know, it's weird how like they categorize limited series now, because Big Little Lies cleaned up last year as a limited series and then got a season 2, you know? And then Fargo and American Horror Story, they're anthology shows that have future seasons, but because they're anthologies, they get away with it. You know, it's, again, the category fraud stuff. So, I mean, you know, when you go to, the TV movie category where like Black Mirror episodes get nominated, and now we're going to go up against The Tale, which was just a straight up movie that HBO bought and made a TV movie. You know, and Laura Dern's going to fucking win that, you know, no doubt. So, on a limited series front, though, I really want Twin Peaks: The Return from last year on Showtime to get nominated. I think Kyle MacLachlan deserves it, and then the show itself, because in the limited series boat, I think it has a great chance. But also for TV movie, like, is Paterno going to get nominated? Fahrenheit 451? Don't know if we need those, you know?
I know.
They're going to get stuff to look out for.
Yeah, they're going to get like I don't know, just to fill out the category nominations. It's going to be, HBO's going to be like, we had 3 movies, TV movies.
Yeah.
Nominations. Like, did you though? Any other categories that you're looking at or anyone else?
One other thing I was thinking about, Bill Hader, like we said for Barry, he's probably getting nominated for comedy actor against Don Glover and Anthony Anderson, and I guess Larry David will be in the mix as well. Curb season was season 9. I don't think anyone's that enthusiastic about it, but it'll probably get some attention. And even Godless last year, the Netflix miniseries, Jeff Daniels will probably get nominated for that limited series boat. So, and we've heard The Good Place. I don't think some of the odds makers on Gold Derby didn't have The Good Place in the mix, but I mean, I feel like that sounds like a lock in terms of the comedy front. That's one of the most popular and well-received comedies we have.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, there's so much good TV. I mean, I know we're kind of in like the post phase of peak TV, but it's still pretty peak. I mean, last year we didn't have Thrones present. This year we don't have Veep present, but it's almost kind of nice because you get to give these other ones some shine. I think the only other thing I wanted to shout out before we wrap up is I really hope Mindhunter gets some love. Yeah. Here, I mean, I know it's probably one of the least watched shows out of the ones that will be nominated. I mean, it's on Netflix, not cable, but I think I hope for at least one of the episodes. I mean, especially the last one. I think. I can't remember the lead's name.
This just reminds me of when HBO put all their cards behind Westworld season 1. It said The Leftovers, and now Netflix is going to pick Stranger Things over Mindhunter because it's a more popular show. You know, sounds like a show that's going to get the shaft, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, we didn't even talk about like Billions, which has a lot of love. We didn't talk about J.K. Simmons for Counterpart, which was a huge show beginning of the year.
I think at least J.K. will get nominated for sure.
It's a stat category. I mean, that probably means Liev Schreiber's not getting nominated for Ray Donovan, which always...
That's okay. We're good with that.
I mean, it's okay, but he always gets in there somehow. So, also, there's been a lot of talk about the kid from The Good Doctor, Freddie Highmore, getting a nomination. I'm like, man.
I mean, see, I feel like broadcast, you have This Is Us actually winning awards, and The Good Place deserving of said awards. We don't need to give another populist award to The Good Place. Pick the critical shows. It's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
But people like that show.
Tweet at us with your hopes for Emmy noms at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter, at Martin Swagger, and at Shiny World Peace. We'll be probably giving some reactions as they come out on Thursday, and we'll definitely be talking about it next
Thursday or Wednesday. I forget.
It comes out the 12th.
Okay.
So that's cool. Thursday. Why don't we move on to a show that we mentioned that will almost definitely get at least one Emmy nom, probably multiple. Glow season 2. I mean, this is one
will be nominated. We're talking about season 2.
Yeah, season 1 will be nominated. Season 2 will probably be nominated next year. We reviewed season 1 a year ago when it came out. It was one of the most surprising shows of the year. Alison Brie was a well-known person. Mark Maron, a well-known person. But other than that, I mean, Betty Gilpin, I guess, was somewhat well-known. But the rest of the cast is relatively unknown. And it came out of nowhere to be one of like the sweetheart shows of the year last year. Season 2 came back a year later, and I don't think they really lost a step on this show. And I think actually one of the things I like most about this is I was kind of weary about how do they continue to make this show? How do they continue to push this show for multiple seasons? Or was this going to be a show that's just maybe 2 and done, 3 and done, like a short like run of a story.
Sure.
I think they've done some really smart writing and gotten creative with some of the storylines to really expand the show and give it a lot more, rope to work with. That's probably the thing I've liked most. But what's your reaction to season 2?
Yeah, I mean, season 1, you meet this incredibly stacked ensemble of characters. Again, most actresses we aren't familiar with,
Right.
and season 2, now you actually like get to know these characters, and not only I think Alison Brie as the star Ruth. I think Ruth is fucking incredibly well written throughout all of season 2, and Alison Brie gives a great performance given the character she's playing. But the rest of the ensemble like all gets more and more of their moments in a more meaningful way, like whether it's like Carmen or Welfare Queen or Britannica, Beirut, any of these characters that you wouldn't remember too much of what they did in season 1. You just kind of remember what they look like.
Even Bash.
They get exactly. In Bash too. And heck, even the father-daughter dynamics between fucking Sam and Justine. Like there's so much of it, and it's a show that is not really about the wrestling. It's just about relationships, and it's really more of a dramedy than a straight up comedy, given how the storylines go. But I was very impressed with season 2. I think it's a step up, actually.
Yeah, I think it definitely moved to like a deeper meaning with the show. I mean, you always had like the human side of it. You talk about Ruth getting an abortion in season 1, how people handle that. You talk about how Ruth and Debbie, their conflict and issue. And it's actually a really smart setup because you have human beings going through conflict and just issues in their life, but then they're put in this situation where they're doing these fake conflicts and kind of have to in conflict in a way all the time. I also really liked how they kind of built Marin's character this season, and I felt like Sam is probably the character for me. I mean, like you said, Ruth is so well written, but Sam is probably the most human and relatable to me so far. I mean, also probably being a man, that's the case. I'm sure for women it's a little different, but just seeing the way he handles his relationship with Ruth and where that's going. I mean, I haven't finished the season yet, but I'm on episode 9 at this point, so I think I have one more after to go. But just really, really brilliant. Like I said, Bash, like they did so much about his backstory with just like little scenes. Probably like 5 to 10 minutes of the whole season devoted to really developing who he was.
Right.
But I think they did it really effectively.
You think Bash like this like rich guy. That's kind of how he's introduced. It's like this rich benefactor, but there's a lot more to him once it goes and gets developed. And you haven't seen it yet, but more stuff will happen to Bash at the very end of the season.
Interesting. Looking forward to that. Any other standouts from this season, or any like characters or moments that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I thought episode 8 was my standout episode of the season. Really reminded me of an episode from Atlanta season 1, BAN. That was the episode where had all those like commercials within the episode.
Public access.
It was really right, and I believe that's where Paperboy was. He was on having that argument on TV, right? And it was like intersected with all those commercials. And Good Twin is the name of it. Episode 8, Glow season 2, and that's where like it doesn't even get intro, just kind of presented as just like an episode of these really corny sketches that all the Glow cast members are performing in, and then they parody the "We Are the World" song with the kidnapping thing at the end, and I just thought like it was just really, really smart, and that's definitely my favorite episode of the season. But like it just immediately brought me back to Atlanta. I was like, wow, this is like and he actually kind of remembers of the Alf episode from Mr. Robot as well, where it's like out there, totally like out of the blue, doesn't fit the rest of the show thing, but actually does fit the rest of the show. You didn't expect it, So I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, I always like when we talked about Legion. I was kind of thinking about this, like why we enjoy an episode like The Good Twin, and why sometimes things in Legion become a little bit too much. And I think it's when weirdness is used in a way to like move the show forward, and it's not just like the center of the show is how weird can it get. It can really add an element. And they do that great with that episode. That was one of my standouts as well. I also really liked the episode Viking Funeral, which was the first one this season, just because it kind of, it set up a lot of things for the season, just in terms of conflict and and movement of the characters, like Ruth being moving behind the camera and being a creative mind for the show, but just kind of getting to see them like have fun and not be weighed down by their, the different issues in all their lives. Also Mother of All Matches, which kind of put Welfare Queen and Liberty Bell
great stuff
pitted against each other, but the parallel dynamics about where they're at in terms of being mothers was really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to finishing it up. Also, the soundtrack this season, really, really liked it. Gonna definitely follow that on Spotify to get some more of that good
shout out the
music.
80s.
Yeah, 80s really having a resurgence the last couple of years. I don't hate it though.
Oh yeah, definitely they're in. 80s are in as fuck.
Any other thoughts about the season?
Watch it. Yeah, Netflix is giving a big push right now, but I think it's this is currently, I think, my fourth best show of the year, third best show. I have it very high up right now. I was very happy with it.
I also really like the addition of Junk Chain, Yolanda Rivas.
Yeah,
I thought she was great, and it added another dimension to the show, having a character that wasn't straight, which I thought was great. While we jump to a show, we talked about Glow, definitely going to be nominated this year, season 1 for the Emmys. A show that we expect to be nominated for short mini series next year is Sharp Objects, featuring Amy Adams on HBO. Jean-Marc Vallée, director of Dallas Buyers Club, which I believe won the Academy Award for Best Picture, right? At least with
no, but Matthew McConaughey won Best Actor.
That's what it was.
And so did Jared Leto.
Right. Oh man, Jared Leto before he was the Joker. So Sharp Objects premiered last night, gotten a lot of buzz. It's going to be 8 episodes, and it has Amy Adams in it. It also has Patricia Clarkson, Chris Messina, who you would know from The Newsroom, and Eliza Scanlon, who plays the younger sister on the show. This was probably one of the first pilots in a long, or I don't even know if it's pilot, but first episodes in a long time that really draws you in and just kind of makes you hooked to a show. I mean, like, I really want to see the second episode to uncover more of what's going on. And I think that, at least for me, they did a really good job because they're setting up a lot of backstory in the first episode about something happened to Amy Adams as she returns to her hometown to write about these murders that have been happening to young girls over the last 2 years. And that she experienced a lot of trauma in her past and how that affects her relationships. And I think they do a really good job of mixing in the current mystery with the past mystery in a way that's really effective. And it's obviously going to kind of force Amy Adams to reflect on her own issues and how that plays out. What did you like about the first episode? Because I saw you tweeting about it last night.
Yeah, I mean, like those quick, like instantaneous flashbacks, like you said, I think are really, really effective. They're actually quite engaging, but it's kind of like peeling back the layers of what is going on with Amy Adams' character. And like you said, I don't think it's a pilot. It probably wasn't a pilot because it was probably a straight to series miniseries, because this is adapted off of a Gillian Flynn novel, and she wrote Gone Girl, of course. So if you want to know what happens, I'm sure we could find out, but I'm not going to spoil it for myself. But I'm very excited because, like, I don't know, it's kind of like hooks. This first episode kind of hooked me the way The Night Of hooked me. Another HBO show that I really loved. And Jean-Marc Vallée, who did Big Little Lies after Dallas Buyers Club, and he, I think this is a big step up with his camera. Like, it really moved around, like pivoted some of the scenes, like in the houses, but also just with the flashbacks, with the close-ups on Amy Adams, because she's like a troubled character that has her issues. She's an alcoholic. She's a cutter. I think it's really effective. It's intentionally shot like a hazy way because that's how her character usually is feeling. And Patricia Clarkson immediately is like the most grating, like Southern belle matriarch ever. It's like so fucking effective. And this is a cool show because Amy Adams is an executive producer on the way same way Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman were EPs for Big Little Lies. And this is a lot like, and this is kind of like the prestige of peak TV now, where like big A-listers can come do a short commitment. And yes, Big Little Lies got season 2, but that's why they wanted to make it. But like the appeal of this is that Amy Adams did not have to commit to 20 episode season This Is Us,
Right.
And we have shows with Julia Roberts coming down the pipe. You know, George Clooney has a show at Hulu. Like these kind of high profile a double A listers going to TV. It's just really exciting, especially when it's a acclaimed novel from a guy who's already knocked it out of the park with HBO once already, and with Amy Adams. You know, so I'm just really stoked about it. But I think it's just the pilot is like really uniquely made to like grab you, and it's not just a small town murder mystery or a crime thriller. Like, I feel like that's kind of like a superficial way to talk about the show, you know, given what we saw in the first episode. So I'm all the way in.
Yeah, me too. And you know, it came out this week that HBO wanted, what was it, a new direction, or they're going new direction.
Yeah, it was just because, so like with the AT&T Warner acquisition approved, HBO has new overseers, and the way, I forgot the names of the guys, but the head of HBO was talking to the head of the new Warner Media people, and it's like, we're profitable. And he's like, yes, you are, but you need to be more profitable. And basically, it sounds like they just want to compete with Netflix by having more stuff to attract more subscribers. And it sounds like they want to get away from the HBO owned one night of your week. Now, no. Now we got to own multiple nights because Netflix owns every waking moment now, you know?
Right.
And the struggle, of course, is HBO has always been about quality. Netflix does not give a fuck about quality. So I think it's very interesting to see play out where, you know, how would HBO can operate? Because I think, you know, making more sharp objects, I don't know if that's in their budget because they're expensive to pay people like Amy Adams to be on the show. So I don't know how drastic this will be, but in the meantime, Sharp Objects is a classic HBO joint. So I'm excited.
Definitely. Well, and I think it's a smart strategy. It seems like they've gotten some really good properties, you know, IP to work off of, but they've also pretty much told like Reese Witherspoon, Laura Dern, people like that, that if you want to have input on this, like we would love that. And like you can have direction, and it gets buy-in from these people. They don't want to be coming in. They're already established. They don't need to be doing TV, but if they want to be doing a project like this, having input is really smart. And I think that's probably how you move towards, you know, a bigger, you know, being more profitable, as you get the names and then you let them make quality content while also having a show like Succession, which we'll talk about, where, I mean, the budget for that is probably pretty high, but at the same time, they don't have any like A-listers on that, like a show like this. So not as expensive, probably.
Sure.
We'll definitely be talking about Sharp Objects if an episode really feels like it needs to be talked about, or at the end of the season as a wrap up. Any last thoughts before we move on?
I'm very enthusiastic about it as well. Just, you know, limited series with an A-lister. People like me and you, TV people, it sells itself.
Definitely.
The fact that it's also really good should bring everyone in.
Absolutely. So definitely watch it if you have HBO. Tweet at us about it. All right, Ant-Man and the Wasp, first movie since Infinity War for Marvel.
So long. Wait.
It's been a while. Peyton Reed back behind the camera. He did the first Ant-Man, also known for Bring It On. But I mean, it's kind of funny that those are like the two biggest movies I think he's probably known for at this point.
Well, Peyton Reed's actually very interesting to me because he's one of the prime examples of a younger, less well-known director, really known for smaller movies, getting handed the blockbuster and actually succeeding and thriving. Definitely. You know, people will point to Josh Trank and Colin Trevorrow as the opposite of that. So Marvel really lucked out Peyton Reed and I think with Ant-Man and the Wasp, this is the first one he had to make without, you know, any real input from Edgar Wright. Remember, he was originally attached to the first one, and Peyton Reed came in where it's really unclear how much of the movie was Peyton Reed's, for at least story-wise, you know. So this one's 100% him, and I'm happy for him because I think it worked out pretty well.
No, I agree. I mean, the first Ant-Man was the lowest-grossing Marvel movie to date, and then this one did pretty well. I mean, it's made $76 million domestically, 161 million worldwide, sitting at 86% Rotten Tomatoes. And I think that seems about the right number. I think this was a good film. I think there were a lot of really great parts about it. I think there were also some things that they could have done better. But overall, really enjoyable movie. I think the thing that stood out to me was Infinity War was so big. I mean, we talked about how they had so much to do, and then the follow-up movie is this really, really small story that's basically about like, oh, my mom is gone, you're on house arrest, but we need you to help find my mom.
Yeah.
And then there's all these like bad guys that come along through it.
Yeah, it succeeds because of its lighter tone, because the stakes are so low, you know, and that's great. And I mean, this movie made almost 20 million more in its opening weekend. People are responding to it, and we're more excited to see it. And you know, I think when people, you know, criticize either Ant-Man film, you always kind of have to push back and be like, bro, it's Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Do you know any Ant-Man villains?
Right.
Do you think of any deep, profound story with tons of growth for Ant-Man? No, it's a comedy by choice. And while I think Ant-Man and the Wasp isn't as strong of a sequel as, say, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I think there's a lot more like character growth and more personal moments in that one. I still think Ant-Man and the Wasp is just, you know, it's a hoot. It's just a good time. And I actually think there's a lot of stuff that it improved on the second go around. But yeah, so you said that there's some things that didn't work so well for you. What were those?
Yeah, well, I think Ghost as a villain was, I mean, I guess she wasn't totally a villain. I guess you'd probably say Walton Goggins was the villain in this. But I mean, the thing with Ghost, I get that she's really angry about everything that's happened and her belief of what happened with her dad. But at the same time, it's like her motivation is, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want to die. Help me out. But what she does keeps pushing that further away, and it's almost like if they had thought about it, them working together to like stop Walton Goggins and just go find the Janet so that they could figure everything out would have made this whole story irrelevant. So that to me is kind of like, all right, but I can put that aside for sake of a story. I mean, I'm not really here to nitpick the plot. I also thought, I thought Walton Goggins was great in this, like not really that great of a villain. I was never really worried about him because he didn't have any powers. Like so,
comic relief, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't feel like there was a really great villain in this. It was also just a lot going on. Like Scott had his conflict with, you know, having to be home, not get caught by Wu. You know, I'm forgetting her name, Evangeline Lilly's Hope. I mean, she had a million different things trying to deal with stuff with her dad, find her mom, deal with stuff with Scott. I mean, just a lot going on. I felt like at times it was a bit much, but I actually think they did a pretty good job of sewing everything back together by the end. Did you have any problems with it that stood out to you?
So yeah, the thing about the villains, I've actually liked these villains more. I think that's probably just because the first Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket, well, I like Corey Stoll a lot. He's one of the weaker villains in the whole MCU. So the fact that the new villain, primary villain Ghost, at least had like a acceptable motivation and they can understand it at least. Granted, it's not like she's a Killmonger, where she's actually really fleshed out. Obviously, that's not the case at all. Yeah. But can I expect a Killmonger for Ant-Man? Probably not. So I thought it was good enough for me. The thing actually didn't work quite as well for me this time, and I think I'm probably in the minority with this, is I didn't laugh as much this time. I thought the humor was a lot better in the first one. I'm not really sure why that is. I definitely laughed more at Michael Pena in the first one. I think Luis is hilarious, perhaps borderline stereotypical, but like his storytelling thing when, you know, with the lip syncing, thought that was freaking amazing the first time around. But when they did a callback, which I liked, I don't know, I didn't quite laugh as much with all the ex-con stuff. Despite the movie still being fun and slapstick, which is why I like it. But I think in terms of laugh out loud moments, it didn't have as many for me anyway. How'd you feel about the humor?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think I probably laughed more at the second one. And I almost feel like I laughed a lot at Bobby Cannavale, which he wasn't that type of character at all in the first one. And
no, he was an antagonist.
Yeah, in the second one, he gets to kind of be this like big softy who's like very caring and like nurturing towards Scott, and they have this amicable relationship. I thought he was great, like playing alongside his wife in the movie.
Yeah,
he would say
they didn't get enough scenes, honestly.
Yeah, and he would be like, actually, that should
do it again.
Yeah, I like that. I think they're both pretty funny, and they bring a lot of levity to movies that are usually very serious.
Right. And Randall Park was a great addition. Being like a third antagonist, I guess. But he was funny when he was on screen, so it's good enough for me. But the thing I like about the two Ant-Man movies, as far as Ant-Man in general, he's in Civil War as well, is that I just really like Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. I like that they went with Scott Lang, the second Ant-Man. Obviously, Michael Douglas plays Hank Pym, and I think he might be a little wooden in these movies. You know, I don't know if his performance isn't amazing, despite being a world-class actor. But because like we had like lived in history with all the Ant-Man mythos, you know, with Ant-Man, and even Lawrence Fishburne comes in as Goliath, just more like, you know, backstory that we're not going to see. But like, I don't know, I think it's cool, and because they've already committed to not having Hank Pym in the Avengers, because in the comics, Ultron is created by Hank Pym, not Tony Stark, the way it happened in the movies. So considering like they already like put Hank Pym to the sidelines, have it be Scott Lang. He's way more funny, you know. And Paul Rudd, it's funny, like isn't Paul Rudd like 49? He had some fucking rock solid abs in that gratuitous shot. Yeah, but he's hilarious the whole movie.
Like,
no, he hasn't.
He's
like Rob Lowe.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Actually, I saw Rob Lowe on like an infomercial today, and I was like, God damn, Rob Lowe looks good, man. Like when they finally do that West Wing reboot and Sam's the president, like he's gonna be perfect for it.
That'd be fire.
Can't wait for that. Yeah, you know, it's actually interesting. I was thinking Michael Douglas, I didn't think was that great. Michelle Pfeiffer, I thought was a really good get for the movie, and apparently that's the only
barely in it.
Yeah, it's the only person Peyton Reed really thought of to play the role, which I also was like kind of surprised at. I feel like you could have gotten a lesser known actress to play the role and been fine. I also really liked the stuff with the quantum realm, and I wish they had done more with that, but it's also probably pretty tough because it not only involves a lot of CGI, which I don't think necessarily budget was the issue, but it's just also you have to create this whole other dimension and put a lot into it. And I don't know.
And the future of the quantum realm in the MCU, I think, is really interesting to me, just because it feels, at least visually, Doctor Strange adjacent, but also like people are theorizing the quantum realm will play into how Infinity War gets resolved next year, you know? And now with the post-credit scene, spoilers obviously, but we know that he's actually stuck there. People are theorizing maybe Captain Marvel and Ant-Man would help them together or something, help everyone together, but the quantum realm will be back somehow, so maybe they don't want to like blow their load and go too deep on it in the second one, considering it's almost like tertiary to the actual, like, you know, a plot of the film. Like they're trying to get to the quantum realm, we don't actually need to do much in it, we have to get someone out of it. So and that's interesting. But you know, we don't, despite the movie being really slapstick and comedic, I think the action is actually really strong just because it's like so fluid, and it's just really cool seeing them go big, go small, and then having car chases fit into that. So, you know, similar to Incredibles 2, a movie that just really flows and works whenever there's any action. I really was impressed with all the scenes.
I had the same thought. Even rewatching the first one before this, I was like, man, just like the whole concept of like going big, disappearing, and like coming back is just so cool in a fight for some reason. Really like solid to watch on screen. You know, one scene I wanted to shout out, I forgot to mention this when we talked about the funny scenes, and maybe we can kind of wrap up just talking about like our favorite parts of it. I really liked the scene in the school when he gets kind of stuck as like child size for some reason. That really just made me laugh a lot. And I felt like that really got to show off the relationship between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly in this. And I thought she was great, kind of being the co-lead.
For sure.
She doesn't get enough work, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's deservedly, because Wasp is more competent, more able and smarter than Scott Lang, basically every way. So it's kind of like, you know, like a F the patriarchy move, but like it's deserved, you know. So I'm happy that she got more shine, that she got a suit this time around, you know, she's not rocking the dumb wig from the first one. Except in that one scene. So yeah, more Evangeline Lilly and Ant-Man and Avengers movies, because she's great at the role.
Any last thoughts as we kind of wrap up for today, either Ant-Man or anything we talked about?
You know what really stood out to me was the San Francisco shots. Not all the movie was shot there, but you know, I looked it up. Some stuff was not shot in Atlanta, like most Marvel movies. But you know, when you're in San Francisco, in terms, you know, the elevation of, you know, the hills of SF, and obviously the shots of the Bay, and man, is that refreshing considering the Atlanta aesthetic of Marvel is pretty generic. So I was happy to see that. Yeah,
at the end when they, you know, before the final after credit scene, which was really nothing, but also just kind of a funny callback with the big ant playing the drums. I liked that it said like, thanks to Atlanta, then I said thanks to San Francisco, and I was like, hell yeah. Like it was so fun to watch the car chases where they were like jumping through the hills and stuff. Just really cool. So some really refreshing stuff in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really recommend you see it, especially if you're a superhero fan. You kind of have to.
Yeah. How do you think this would play out for non-Marvel fans? Because to be critical, there's not like really much like growth the way there is in Guardians 2. I think it's very much a sequel, very much a Marvel movie, and very fun in its own right. But how do you think this will go over with non-fans? Because I'm seeing some negativity in that regard.
Interesting. I would suspect that if you were a non-Marvel fan and you're watching the sequel to Ant-Man, you must like something about the first one. And this one doesn't really do too much that the first one doesn't.
Right.
So I would suspect you would probably enjoy it, but I could see you being like, the characters didn't grow enough for me. I feel like that's not the case with a couple of them, like Evangeline Lilly. I thought Hope really grew in ways, got to really take on a stronger part, kind of just by the narration or by the mechanics of the plot. But yeah, I guess I could see that's a fair criticism, but I don't know. It's Ant-Man. Like,
yeah, relax.
Yeah. It's kind of like if we went with Suicide Squad 2, I'm not going to be like looking for Harley Quinn to be turning over a new leaf. I know what I'm getting there. So
right. Plus, we just got Black Panther for Ryan Coogler. Like, relax, buddy. It's okay.
Exactly. I think one of these weeks, if it slows down enough where we have a light week, we should probably do our some shout outs for best of the year so far. Maybe things we haven't gotten to, some movies, I don't know, some quick lists, something like that. So be looking out for that in the coming weeks. I'm sure you probably have your movie list down to a science. Where does this fall? 31?
Oh, well, that's total. I think I have Ant-Man and the Wasp
15,
12 to 15 range, something like that. It's pretty close to Infinity War, honestly. So they're such vastly different films. But yeah, I was very happy with this, and now we get a nice break from MCU. Captain Marvel doesn't come out till March. We have Aquaman in December, and then that's the only major superhero movie left for the year. And we don't have Star Wars until December of next year, so nice little respite from all these big films,
Yeah, don't complain to us about superhero fatigue anymore.
Okay, we don't have to get into superhero fatigue. I have a big take on that, but never mind. Next week.
I'm really looking forward to seeing. Sorry to bother you. I think I'm going to go Thursday.
Yes,
dude, I'm hearing really great things about that.
It also cleaned up. It was only in less than 20 theaters. It made 44,000 per. So people are excited about it. Reviews are great. I'm really happy for Lakeith Stanfield getting this look.
Yep.
And of course, Queen Tessa Thompson. So we will talk all about that next week. That's the most anticipated thing coming up.
Yeah. And then, we'll probably touch on some TV, movies, music. There'll be something.
There's stuff. We got stuff. Don't worry about the stuff.
Don't worry about the stuff.
Follow at Nowstalgia Pod for the stuff.
Yeah. And go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod to follow the pod any way that you want to. Share us with friends. Leave a rating and review on iTunes. We appreciate all of it. Dave, any last thoughts for the people? Go listen to 1999 Wildfire. What else?
World's Best Grandma.
Peace out.